Today I'm going to demonstrate a lazy daisy stitch the regular way and then a tacked lazy daisy stitch. Lazy daisies are usually used to make flower petals with a soft organic feel, but a variation on the stitch can be used to make more geometric regular shapes. So first I drew just this freehand kind of, wobbly flower on the left here to show how to make a regular lazy daisy. So you want to come up at or near the center and then go down again in the same hole or right next to it. But don't pull all the way through. Leave a loop of fabric up here and try to hold on to it so that it doesn't twist around and get tangled. So then you want to bring your needle up in the center of the end, the opposite end of the petal. And you want to bring it up through that loop that you created and pull on it to pull it taut, but not too tight. See how that naturally forms a petal shape? We want to come down on the other side of that petal to be able to tack it into place. And that is how you make a regular lazy daisy. I'll do one more, again coming up through the center, down at or around the same point, leaving a loop here so that you can come up from the opposite end of the petal through that loop. You can nudge it around with your needle if you need to, if it's getting stuck on the other one, right? And again, you want to go down just on the other side of that petal into the same hole or right near it to just tack that end. So you can see how that creates a nice organic petal shape, which is great for things like flowers. But I also love to use lazy daisies for more geometric shapes, like you see in this pattern. So here, all of these pink lazy daisies are a tacked lazy daisy. And then here in the purple, you have a tacked lazy daisy stitch forming this ring of petals all around, and then also a lazy daisy forming those circles. And you can kind of get a sense here how those are all very regular, and they don't move around. They're not twisting, they're not loose, because I've tacked the sides of them compared to what we see in the regular lazy daisy petal. So to do it the more geometric kind, we're going to start the exact same way. So I'm going to come up from the bottom. In this case, I have a large center, so I'm coming up from the edge of the petal instead of the middle of a form, just because I have a big circle there. I'm going down again at the same point. I am still doing the same thing, coming up in the center of the opposite end of my petal, pulling it taut, but not super tight, going down on the other side to just tack it into place. So this right now is still a regular lazy daisy, and I'm going to make another one right next to him for the adjacent petal, because when I do these touching, I find it's best to tack them to each other instead of individually. Just saves time and creates that kind of geometric effect that we're looking for. So again, I'm just making a regular lazy daisy right now. My drawing is a little sloppy, so we'll kind of guess. Right, tack it down on the outside. So right now, again, that's two regular lazy daisy petals. But if we want to turn it into a more geometric one, sometimes I take another needle if I need it in my hand, my non-stitching hand. Because what we want to do is we want to come up right at where these 2 points would meet in this needle. Between the petals. So I'm going to come up on one side of one petal, like inside one petal, just next to where they touch. Doesn't matter which order you do this in, which petal you start with. So I came up just inside this petal on the right, and then I'm going to kind of nudge over from the petal on the left, and I'm going to come down and just put the tiniest stitch tacking them together. So let's pretend that I had one on the right here, because I'm not going to make you watch me do this whole thing. So sometimes the blunt end of a needle can help you get this into place. So imagine that I had another one here. Same thing, tiniest tacking stitch where you're just coming down on either side to hold it into place. And that will help create these kinds of very regular patterns that are more geometric. And while this is usually used for a petal shape, you can do the same thing to create a circle like you see in that pattern as well. So in this case, it's basically like a really short, fat petal. So I'm going to come up at the bottom of the circle, and I'm going to come down at the top of, oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm going to come down at the same point, just like I'm doing a petal. I'm going to leave a loop. I'm going to come through at the top, through the loop, just like if it was a petal shape, right? And so now you can see I basically have a really tiny lazy daisy. And in this case, I'm kind of poking it around with my needle because I want to leave enough slack that I can tack those sides into a circular shape. But same thing, I'm coming down on the other side of the loop at the top. So right now I have basically a small petal, but I'm going to come through. And again, you can tack these however you prefer. I always find it helpful to tack from inside the petal to out, just to make sure that I am pulling things where I want to pull them. So I'm trying to get my needle, there you go, at kind of the midpoint on the left side of that circle, and make sure that my thread is over it so that I'm coming up inside it. And then I'm just going to go down on the outside to again create the tiniest little tacking stitch that's just going to pull that to the side like a circle. Same thing on the other side. I want to come out at about the midpoint, and I promise this is easier than it looks. I have a little awkward setup to try not to get my head in the camera, right? So now I just came up on the inside of the side of the circle, and I'm doing a tiny tacking stitch down to the outside. Boom. So that is how you can create a regular lazy daisy with an organic feel, or start to tack petals of a lazy daisy to create a geometric shape, or tack them into a shorter, squattier version to make a very small circle like what you can see here in this pattern. And you can see that it can be done at different scales. This is kind of a medium size, a very small size, and quite a large size of petal. And so that's it for Lazy Daisy Stitch and a tacked Lazy Daisy. Thanks for watching.